Alright, let's bring that beat back.
The new panic comes out as we are pushed as quickly as we can to forget about what happened in Afghanistan. So we'll talk about this. Plus, we'll talk about Afghanistan because it's a day that ends in Y. New polls show that Biden is underwater in almost every poll for approval. That's funny. I only thought that happened to presidents who were orange. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. A little bit of an update for us. The teacher who had her students pledge allegiance to the pride flag may be facing disciplinary action. And the Elijah McClain case may be coming to a close as well. It's going to be all this and more. Hey, do you trust the plan yet? I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. What is up, Edheads? Good morning. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and this has been a weird 24 hours on the news cycle. Like, to the point that I really can't. I can't get around with this. This is craziness out here. It seems like this was almost tailored, and I said yesterday. I talked about this yesterday. I said, does anybody else see the irony in the fact that our news media has shifted its focus entirely to abortion in order to cover up for a botched withdrawal? Does anybody else see the irony in that? I see the irony in it. It's crazy, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what actually happened, what the news media is trying to tell you happened, and where we go from here. Plus, we'll talk about Afghanistan. Plus, we will talk about the hurricane or what's left of it, the polling. It's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Thank you guys for checking us out on all the platforms that we have out there. But before we get into the news, the finance, or anything else, when we've got a little bit of house cleaning to get to before we get into the news as well, before we get into that, head on over and check out my friends who will be coming and participating in a new project that I have coming up in the very near future. I am talking, of course, about the Daily Ignoramus, the Porch Boys, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the Already Conservative, and the Freckles and Brit Show. Go and check all of those programs out. They're all great programs. They're great people. They're great friends of mine. They all have different ideas on how the world works, and they will all be conveniently in one place once we get the new project up. So until we get that up and running, you can go over there and check them out and help us support great creators. And, once the project is up, you can go and check that out as well. All right, let's get into it here. Let's get started. Let me open my phone back up here so it's restarted and ready when it's time to go here. For whatever reason, every time I tried to go live on the Instagram, my phone just froze up, or the Instagram feed just froze up. So we will have no Instagram today, unfortunately. Because I do like having stuff there because it's a good backup in case we ever get, not back off. It's a good backup in case we ever get nuked on one of the mainline platforms, the YouTube, the Twitch, or something else like that. It's a good place for people to go and find the program because I typically put it up there, and then if something does happen, you can go and say, hey, where do I find you now? And then I go and say, oh shit, I got nuked, and here's where you can go find me now. And yes, I do have backups in place for some of that too. All right, we got to get into this here because we have got 40 tabs to get through. And we're going to get through them all today. We're going to do it. We are going to do it. Let me get the live chat up here. See what you guys are doing. See what some of you guys are up here. Looks like Helton is in here with the fire jokes. My kitchen looks great, by the way, Ron, just so you know. All right, let's get into it, though. First thing that we're going to do is it's one of those things that I've been doing this a lot lately, especially in the Discord. If you guys are in the Discord, you're going to see a lot of this stuff here. A lot of stuff of, I had to see it, so you have to see it. And that's what we're going to start off with today, before we do anything else. I had to see this, now you have to see it. Our face mask song, and this is to the tune of I've Been Working on the Railroad. And even with allergy, raspy throat in the morning, I'm gonna sing this to you. I am gonna sing it to you. So let's bring this back down a little bit, because otherwise that beat's gonna throw me off. I will always wear my face mask all day long at school. I will always wear my face mask. It shows that I'm so cool. Masks help everyone stay healthy, teachers, friends, and family. I will always wear my face mask. It helps us stay germ-free. Yes, this is the stuff they're doing in public school. And once we go talk about that crazy-ass teacher, too, that should be enough reason for you to say, hey, maybe I should rethink that public school thing after all. Because I think it might be time. It might be time at this point to go rethink that shit. Alright, anyway, I had to see it, so you had to see it. And I'm saving this for Monday's show too, by the way. Alright, let's get into the finance for the day. Oh shit, I gotta back away the fuck up. So there's your Dow for the day. It looks like it took another down day, which was also a struggle. It's basically an even day, but still ending in the red. Starting off at just under 35.4. Now we're sitting at 35,312.53. That is 48.2 points down, or 0.14%. That is after it took a fair drop in the beginning of the day. Rebounded, climbed back up, and then took another fair drop throughout the day. I wouldn't say a significant drop. I mean, it wasn't even 50 points dropped, but still, I'm going to talk like Biden this early into this, which is funny because I just sang with no problem. It does look like it's kind of starting to edge a little bit lower with some concerns that we have on the markets here, but it is holding fairly steady. That is not a bad day for the Dow, even though it's down. Looking at your Bitcoin, let's do a refresh on that. Let's get the live chat back up here. Your Bitcoin has come back up to 50,238.20. So it's back up to 50K mark. I hope you got a little bit while it was on sale. I got just a little bit of it while it was on sale. Not very much, because I didn't have a lot to spend at this time of the month, but I did grab just a tiny bit of it while it was on sale. So hopefully we'll be looking good coming up here in the near future. And your scrap prices. There's a lot of red on this chart today, so I hope that you guys have some metal if you have some metal that you want to get in, unless it's a cat, because that's still coming up. Looks like we've seen the rebounds. A lot of the stuff is coming down, so if you got some metal to bring in, your copper is down, your steel is down. Most of your steel is down, most of your iron is down. A couple of aluminums are up. But it looks like most of your aluminum is down too. So just about everything is down. Go take your metal in today and save your cats. All right, let's get in to see what IBD has to say on the day here today. From Investors Business Daily. And by the way, because we had so much stuff across the top, I cut this to one finance article today instead of the usual two, because we want to have countering opinions. A, because there wasn't a lot to talk about on the Dow. A lot of people weren't posting things. And B, because we've got a ton of shit to get to. From IBD, Dow Jones Futures rise after market rally fades. 6 big earnings movers, Apple App Store changes. From Ed Casson. There's your advertisement. Dow Jones Futures rose slightly Thursday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures. Okta, Viva, Asana, and Signet were big earnings movers. The stock market rally closed mixed on Wednesday near session lows, but still near all-time highs. Netflix neared a buy point as fellow streaming players Roku and Disney made possible moves. Okta, Viva, Asana, Semtech, and Five Below reported earnings after the close. Okta, Viva, and Asana all beat views and generally guided higher. Okta fell 1% early Thursday, well off overnight lows and fighting to hold on in early entry. Viva tumbled 7% below the buy zone. Asana spiked 10% early Thursday. Five Below beat on earnings, but missed on sales. Five stock dived 9%, below a buy zone and its 50-day line. Semtech earnings and target stopped views. Semtech stock leapt 7% before the open after recently reclaiming its 200-day line. Early Thursday, Signet easily beat EPS views. Revenue soared 102% to $1.79 billion. I should say. Signet ran up nearly 7% before the open, signaling a move above an 83.10 cup base buy point. Apple will let some app developers link to outside websites who let customers pay for their services, avoiding 30% App Store fees, the company said late on Wednesday. The shift does not include game apps. It's part of a settlement with the Japan Fair Trade Commission, but Apple said it'll make the change globally in early 2022. Apple and the Google App Stores fees have come under growing attention from governments around the world. Earlier this week, South Korean lawmakers voted to bar Apple and Google App Stores from requiring their developers to use their payment systems and pay the 30% fee. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is getting ready to file the second antitrust suit versus Alphabet unit Google over its digital advertising business. Bloomberg reported late on Wednesday, hey, that's Ron's favorite magazine, isn't it? Favorite politician ever, Bloomberg. Reported late Wednesday, the DOJ and several states filed a Google antitrust suit over its search dominance late last year. Apple rose a fraction. Google was a little changed. On your Netflix stock streaming plays rise. Netflix climbed 2.3% on Wednesday to 582.07, closing on a 593.39 buy point. Netflix stock has rallied 11.5% over the past 10 sessions. The web streaming giant has been in multiple consolidations. Going back a year, Netflix said Wednesday it will begin streaming Seinfeld on October 1st after 6 years on Disney-owned Hulu. Okay, maybe I can go watch Seinfeld then. I've never seen Seinfeld. I've seen a couple episodes like here and there because they came on after whatever it was that I was watching in the 90s. And I didn't get it at the time, but I was pretty young when it started. I know that it stretched for until I was into adulthood, but you know, I just remember the early episodes, and when I was pretty young, I'm like, I don't get this. I don't understand. But maybe I'll give it a try as an adult. I mean, I gave Frasier a try as an adult and wound up really liking it, and I didn't get that when it was new either. But now I've tried it, now I get it, so maybe I'll try that. Meanwhile, Roku popped 4.5% to $368.10, just reclaiming the 200-day line. Aggressive traders could start to buy a Roku stock position off the 200-day line, but perhaps wait a bit for a bit of bounce. Disney climbed at 1.2% to $183.48, bouncing from the 50-day line, but investors might want to treat $187.68 as a proper early entry. Just above the post-earnings pop on August 13th, when it stalled out close to a prior short-term peak in July, the official Disney stock buy point is $203.12. So, a lot of information for a lot of stuff that there really isn't. I mean, there was no current Dow article out there this morning other than the IBD one. So, the investors didn't think there was a lot to talk about. IBD thought there was a lot to talk about. We've talked about it. Let's look at the futures. Dow futures rose 0.2% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.2%, while NASDAQ 100 futures were up 0.3%. Bitcoin moved back to 50K. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. A lot of information there. A lot of moves on the markets here. We will see where the markets go. Let's go in and check in. Let's do one little cleanup bit before we get into the big stuff of the day here. From ABC 7 out of New York, Ida remnants pound New York City tri-state with historic flooding. I have got no author given. The remnants of Hurricane Ida brought drenching rains and sparked historic flooding across New York City and the tri-state area. At least one person has died in New Jersey. The heavy rain in a short period of time sparked widespread flash flooding, stranding drivers, flooding subways, and grounding planes. Mayor de Blasio declared a state of emergency in New York City due to the historic weather event, bringing brutal flooding and dangerous conditions to the roads. Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency in all of New Jersey's 21 counties, urging people to stay off the flooded roads. Murphy said the state will use every resource at its disposal to ensure the safety of New Jerseyans. The mayor of Passaic said one person drowned inside their vehicle due to flooding on Passaic Avenue and Lackawanna Place. The rest of the people in the car were rescued and treated on the scene. Paterson Public Schools and several other districts announced they will be closed or opening late Thursday due to severe storms and flooding. The New Jersey state offices will also have a 3-hour delayed opening on Thursday. In New York City, de Blasio said the 5 boroughs were facing serious situations for the next few hours, urging people to stay off the roads as thoroughfares and highways have turned into rivers. He said that first responders are getting people off subway trains that are stuck now, and that problems are likely to linger into Thursday morning. We can possibly listen to de Blasio here, because he's on the phone right there. Let's listen to what he had to say here. That's actually probably not a bad idea. Let's drop this down.
More on the storm. We're joined by New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. And Mayor, we just saw all that rain that left some people trapped in their cars. We just saw from Josh in the Soundview section of the Bronx where one person has been trapped for more than an hour. What can you tell us about all of this flooding?
Yeah, Sade, I was just watching your coverage. It's very, very troubling, and it came on so suddenly. This rainfall increased very, very intensely from Hurricane Ida. What I can tell you is we've got a serious situation for the coming hours. It is absolutely crucial for people to get off the road. If anyone's thinking of
Apparently they didn't like that video because it stopped in 30 seconds in. Well, I guess we'll have to catch up with that a little bit later. So, yeah, I mean, if you're in New York, and I know at least one of you is, then stay safe. Make sure you stay off the roads, stay out of the subways, and especially stay out of the subways here, because I've got some video here of what's actually happening with that. I'm still on, right? Let's go double check, make sure I'm on, because I have no audio coming back through. Oh, there it goes. I had no music. I thought, okay, maybe that this video bumped because I bumped my internet, but, you know, we'll see what happens there. I know it looks like it's been bubbling here and there and buffering a little bit. Alright, anyway, let's get into this here. I do have one video of what's going on here, so do make sure that you guys stay safe. From Libs of TikTok, here is the subway right now. Subway flooding is infrastructure. I do like the caption on that. You know, with all that water rushing, and as far as I know, the tracks are electrified too. Excuse me. God, I hate allergy season. With all that going on here, and they say the tracks are electrified on top of this, I'm a little bit weirded out that these people who are taking these videos are not more concerned about electrocution or electrically charged waters. I mean, this looks like a toaster in the bathtub kind of thing. If you've got this much water going down and hitting the track. Let me drop that down. That's a bunch of ear aids right there for you. Yeah, I'm a little concerned with that and the fact that all the lights are still on, so with that, stay safe, people. That's what I have to say. Stay safe. Alright. With that, that's our cleanup for the day. Let's get into the big news of the day, which is what the mainstream media spoon-fed you and told you you were supposed to be mad about yesterday. Let's get the live chat back up for you guys. All right. From CNN, Texas 6-week abortion ban takes effect after Supreme Court inaction. From Ariana DeVogue. This is an interesting story because it took me almost the entire day to understand why people were so pissed off at the U.S. Supreme Court for this. But now I've explored into it and I figured out what's going on with it, and we're going to talk about it. So, reading from Ariana, a controversial Texas law which bars abortions at 6 weeks went into effect early Wednesday morning after the Supreme Court and a federal appeals court failed to rule on pending emergency requests brought by abortion providers. The lack of judicial intervention means the law, which is one of the strictest in the nation and bans abortion before many people know they're pregnant — this is propaganda, this is not actually objective news — goes into force absent further court intervention. The law allows private citizens to bring full civil suits against anyone who assists a pregnant person seeking an abortion in violation of the ban. No other 6-week ban has been allowed to go into effect, even briefly. What ultimately happens to this law remains to be seen, said CNN Supreme Court analyst and University of Texas law school professor Steve Vladeck. But now, through their inaction, the justices have let the tightest abortion restrictions since Roe v. Wade be enforced for at least some period of time. The case comes as the justices are poised in the upcoming term to rule on the constitutionality of a Mississippi law that bars abortion at 15 weeks. Under the Texas law, abortion is prohibited when a fetal heartbeat is detected, which is often before a woman knows she is pregnant. There is no exception for rape or incest, although there is an exemption for medical emergencies. Abortion providers asked the justices to block the ban while legal challenges played out because they argued that if it were allowed to go into effect, it would immediately and catastrophically reduce abortion access in Texas, ultimately forcing many abortion clinics to close. Well, where's the downside to this argument? They argued if the law were allowed to take effect, that it would have an impact on barring care for at least 85% of Texas abortion patients, and that would mean that lawsuits could be filed against a broad range of people, including a person who drives their friend to obtain the abortion, someone who provides financial assistance, and even a member of a clergy who assists a patient. President Biden lambasted the law, calling it extreme and a blatant violation of constitutional right established under Roe v. Wade. There is no constitutional right to an abortion under Roe v. Wade, because Roe v. Wade cannot grant you a constitutional right. It did, by the way, cement your right to privacy, and I do have concerns about the fact that, especially with the lawsuits that are permitted in this, that we are going above and beyond the 4th and 5th Amendments off of this, but, that's what people are freaking out about right now. They're freaking out about the fact that they can't go out and kill their babies. I'm going to be pragmatic about this, to the fullest extent I can be pragmatic about this. I really, honestly don't care about abortion that much. I don't. I can offer the suggestions, and I did on Twitter throughout the majority of the day yesterday. Hey, if you don't want to have an abortion, or you don't want to be in that position, could you just maybe not fuck? Is that a possibility? Can you do that? Because I'm going to be realistic with you. I did get a wake-up call a while back. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it, but I did get myself a little wake-up call a while back. The emotional toll of abortion. This was back when I was still in my 20s. I got a bit of a wake-up call on that. And yes, there is a major, major emotional toll to this. I mean, it has touched me at one point in my life. But I'm looking at this right now, and that was something that was private between the two of us. I don't agree with it, but pragmatically, I don't want the government coming in and interfering with people's lives. That's the biggest part of the problem that I have with this. I think people should be shamed, and society should be making sure that people know that it's not okay to do this, but I don't like the fact that the government's involved in this, especially on a civil suit in places where the Texas government can't intervene by either the U.S. Constitution or their Constitution. And pragmatically, really honestly, I would almost say, okay, leftards, if you can't stop, then go ahead and keep doing it, because the people who are against abortion are outbreeding you 17-1. So yes, go ahead and stop yourself from repopulating the world with people who will vote with your ideals, and let the rest of us repopulate the world with people who will vote with our ideals. I mean, that's just a pragmatic thing. That's something you got to think about. And of course, there are always also the arguments that have come into racism off this. Cori Bush has made her big thing about how this is denying access to abortion for black and brown kids, which means she is in favor of killing black and brown kids. I mean, when these people tell you who they are, believe them. But yeah, this is the big story of yesterday. This was everywhere. That we're going to end Roe versus Wade, and it's Kavanaugh's fault that we're going to end Roe versus Wade. Let's read on. The Texas law will significantly impair women's access to the health care they need, particularly for communities of color and individuals with low incomes. So let's kill black babies and poor babies, is what Biden is saying in this. That actually doesn't surprise me coming from him. My administration is deeply committed to the constitutional right established in Roe v. Wade nearly 5 decades ago, and will protect and defend that right. Abortion access had already been curtailed by the ban by the time Wednesday morning rolled around. Whole Woman's Health, which operates clinics in McAllen, McKinney, Austin, and Fort Worth, and led the federal lawsuit challenging the ban, said that it was only offering the procedure if no embryonic or fetal cardiac activity is detected on the sonogram. A heartbeat bill, essentially. Tuesday night, 2 hours before the ban was set to go into effect, one of the clinics, Whole Woman's Health, reported that it was providing abortions. Our waiting rooms are filled with patients, the clinic tweeted, adding that anti-abortion protesters are outside, shining lights on the parking. We are under surveillance. In another tweet, the clinic said, "This is what abortion care looks like, human rights warriors." The Supreme Court's failure to respond prompted a furious backlash from supporters of abortion rights just after the law went into effect. Access to almost all abortion has been cut off for millions of people. The impact will be immediate and devastating, the ACLU said in a tweet. In the novel legal strategy, the state legislature designed the law to prevent government officials from directly enforcing it. The move was meant to make it much more difficult to bring a pre-enforcement challenge because there are not the usual government officials to hold accountable in court. Instead, the law allows private citizens anywhere in the country to bring civil suits against anyone who assists a pregnant person seeking an abortion in violation of the ban. Opponents say the law is part of a new wave of laws put forward by states hostile to abortion rights and will inspire other states to follow suit. Lawyers for Texas officials urged the justices to allow the law to go into effect, saying that the clinics had not shown them that they will be personally harmed by a bill that may never be enforced against them. The case comes as justices have already agreed to consider a Mississippi law during their upcoming term that bars most abortions at 15 weeks. Supporters of abortion rights say the Mississippi and Texas laws were a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade. They were. The landmark 1973 opinion legalizing abortion nationwide prior to viability, which can occur at around 24 weeks of pregnancy. The clinics initially filed suit not only against Texas, but Republican AG Ken Paxton, but state judges and clerks in Texas with the jurisdiction to enforce the law. They also targeted Mark Lee Dixon, who serves as the director of Right to Life East Texas. In briefs, the providers said that patients who can scrape together resources will be forced to attempt to leave the state, and others will be forced to remain pregnant against their will. Well, I mean, you could just not fuck. And I mean, I don't have to go into the biology of the other ways to prevent pregnancy if you do insist on continuing to fuck. There are other ways to do that, but I mean, this is a family show, so we're not going to go into a lot of that. But I mean, you could just not fuck. And I get amazed by some of these people here. Let me grab the tweet, by the way, because I think it's worth pointing out. Yes, this one right here. Tess Menzies says women in Texas should go full Lysistrata and refuse to have sex until this shit is fixed. Yes. This is what the Christian right has been saying for literally decades, by the way. And then I came down on top of this. Oh, they're not going to bring my... Oh, they will bring my comment to the top. Your terms are acceptable. Yes, do that. Stop having sex. Absolutely. Do it. That's what we've been asking you to do. From the beginning of this, once most of us grew up and realized that abortion was a problem. That's what we've been telling you. Hey, you know, you could just stop having sex. But we don't have time for rational solutions. All right, let's grab another one here from ABC 7. Clinics ask Supreme Court to block Texas 6-week abortion ban before it takes effect on Wednesday. This comes to ABC 7 via the Associated Press's Mark Sherman. Abortion providers in Texas are asking the Supreme Court to prevent enforcement of a state law that would allow private citizens to sue anyone for helping a woman to get an abortion after about 6 weeks of pregnancy. The request to the court comes after a panel of appellate judges refused to block enforcement of the law before it takes effect on Wednesday. If it goes into effect, the law would rule out 85% of abortions in Texas and force many clinics to close. The providers and abortion rights advocates supporting them say in emergency filing with the Supreme Court on Monday, for now, Planned Parenthood clinics in Texas have stopped scheduling abortions beyond 6 weeks from conception, spokeswoman Sarah Wheat said. Due to the new law, our healthcare centers are not able to provide abortions to patients after tomorrow unless they meet these new extreme restrictions, she said, in a statement that seems to be laced with propaganda. At least 12 other states have enacted bans on abortion early in pregnancy, but all have been blocked from going into effect. The Texas law, signed by Abbott on May, would ban abortion in the nation's second biggest state after a fetal heartbeat is detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks of pregnancy and is before many women even know they're pregnant. Instead of setting criminal penalties, as other abortion restrictions do, it has private citizens to enforce the ban by suing doctors or anyone who helps a woman get an abortion. Under the situations, that would include anyone who drives a woman to a clinic. To get an abortion under the law, anyone who successfully sues another person would be entitled to at least $10,000. And this is, by the way, the sidestep on what they're saying, because a lot of people have come on and said, well, this is a bounty on people who help other people get an abortion. It's actually not. But I understand where you're trying to make this situation. If it was a bounty, you would be able to bring the person into the police and just get paid and go on your way. No, you still have to go through the court proceedings to do so and have a judge that will be willing to grant that, yes, this person helped the other person get an abortion. And I don't think that there's anybody who's going to be as strict as the Texas law tells them they have to be. I think that's stupid. But I understand where people who are trying to panic the rest of the world are going to come out and try to tell you this. The enforcement scheme makes it difficult to challenge it in court because it's harder to know whom to sue. In other states, 6-week abortion bans would be enforced by government officials, allowing plaintiffs to sue state officials responsible for enforcing the law. The law squarely conflicts with nearly 50 years of Supreme Court decisions in favor of abortion rights, dating back to Roe in 1973. Providers argued in their high court filing. These rulings generally prohibit states from regulating abortions before the fetus can survive outside the womb, typically around 24 weeks of pregnancy. We know the stats on this. We saw this in the CNN article. But, yeah, they tried to get an injunction in place and it failed. All right, let's see what else do we have here. From Insider, Democrats lash out at Supreme Court for doing nothing and allowing radical and extreme 6-week abortion ban to take effect in Texas. From Oma Sadiq. Congressional Democrats on Wednesday ripped into the Supreme Court for allowing a Texas law that bans abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy to take effect. The law, passed in May by Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott, became one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the nation once it went into effect at midnight on Wednesday. It prohibits abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, which typically occurs at the 6-week mark of pregnancy, a time when many people do not even know they're pregnant. There are no exceptions for cases of rape and incest. The Supreme Court failed to act on an emergency petition. We saw that. Democrats argued Wednesday the law poses a direct challenge to abortion protections provided by the Supreme Court's 1973 landmark Roe v. Wade. A lot of this is the same bullshit. And there's Nancy Pelosi speaking on this. SCOTUS's failure to block SB 8 has delivered a catastrophe to women in Texas. This radical law is all about an effort to erase the rights and protections of Roe v. Wade. Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer similarly attacked the Supreme Court for not intervening and letting the abortion ban become the law of the land in Texas. The Supreme Court's decision to do nothing and let this appalling Texas law go into effect is an effort to rip away women's rights, health, and reproductive freedoms. Did I do it right, Nancy? Can I have a treat now? Come on, please. Can I have my treat now? Senators Raphael Warnock and Kirsten Gillibrand of New York also took to Twitter to blast the law as extreme. Cori Bush pointed to the disproportionate toll the law will have on black, brown, low-income, queer, and young folks in Texas. Studies show people of color at higher risk of experiencing poor reproductive health outcomes. which is interesting because why are you saying the quiet part out loud? Why are you telling the world that your main goal is to eliminate black babies, to kill black babies before birth? So, I mean, with that, we sit back off of this. And Ron brings up a good point, and I didn't have it on the notes here, but I do want to point it out because, you know, I don't always do live chat on the morning show, but I am watching what you guys are saying. And Ron brings up a very, very good point off of this. And yeah, the threat is always, oh, well, they'll overturn the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court will end abortion forever. The legislature has the ability to go out and make a law legalizing this. The Supreme Court, or I'm sorry, the legislature could come in and end this argument tomorrow. Actually, I don't think they have enough votes to get past the filibuster on it, but they could also throw it into budget reconciliation and get by the filibuster on it as well. They could end this tomorrow if they wanted to. Go out there, make a law, pass a law, get that supermajority, or convince enough people like Murkowski and Romney to come out and support you. Get this out passed. Or budget reconciliation. If this is such an important part of your life, throw it under budget reconciliation. Go out and say, no, if we have abortion, then it'll fix all the budget problems. Yes, Congress can make a law and end this entire Supreme Court argument. Nobody will ever have to worry about the makeup of the Supreme Court again. But then we wouldn't get to have this argument about the president every 2 years, 4 years, or whatever the fuck it is. So that's what we see coming out of that. From ABC 8. Handmaid's Tale themed protest held in Dallas as the new heartbeat abortion law takes effect. No, I don't want to see your notifications. Go the fuck away. Let's actually look at some of these protests here. Drop the music.
My body is my own.
Dressing like a Handmaid's Tale, Lauren, along with more than a dozen other women from Bands of Our Bodies, wanted their voices heard in front of City Hall after new restrictions on abortions take effect in Texas.
If any of you have watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the book, that's unfortunately where we're living today in Texas. We don't have safe, affordable, accessible abortion rights.
For Megan Gross,
I am pro-choice.
she drove in from Frisco with her son to share her story.
When I was 20 years old, I had an abortion. I was really grateful that I had that opportunity to choose.
While she tells us she made that choice back then, 10 years later, she now has a baby boy.
When I was 20, I didn't have the support of my family. I didn't have the support of my partner at the time.
Private citizens can now sue an abortion doctor or anyone who helps a woman through the abortion process, even an Uber driver who takes her to the clinic.
We know from science that life begins at conception, that at the moment of fertilization, you have your own unique DNA.
Kimberlyn Schwartz is with the Texas Alliance for Life. Schwartz says the point of the law is to protect the unborn child when a heartbeat is detected as early as 6 weeks.
So, I mean, and of course it's The Handmaid's Tale because the left in this country has read 2 books in their lives. Well, let me rephrase that. 8 books, because the one book is a series. They've only ever read Harry Potter and The fucking Handmaid's Tale. So, of course, it's The Handmaid's Tale. Read another book, seriously. Go and read another one. There are entire libraries out there that you can go and read. So go read another one. Reading from Melina Bassau, Dressing Like Handmaidens from the book, and show Handmaid's Tale, More Than a Dozen Women, from the ACLU of Texas's Bands Off Our Bodies protest, wanted their voices heard in front of Dallas City Hall after a new restriction on abortion took effect in Texas on Wednesday. Wouldn't they want to go to Austin? I don't know. I would think that Austin would be the place to go because this is a state law, not a city ordinance. That's just me. Greg Abbott signed SB 8, the so-called heartbeat bill, into law back in May. It went into effect at midnight on September 1st. The law... let me see, I just lost my place here. The law bans abortions as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy, even though medical experts say many women don't know they're pregnant within the first 6 weeks, and the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists has previously called the heartbeat laws misleading because they say embryos have not yet formed hearts at 6 weeks. Now, private citizens can sue an abortion doctor or anyone who helps a woman through the abortion process, even an Uber driver who takes her to the clinic. Also, under the new Texas law, there's no exception for rape, although there is an exemption for medical emergencies. Pro-choice advocates call it one of the most restrictive laws in the state. If any of you have watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the book, that's where we're living today, a protester named Lauren said. We don't have safe, affordable access to abortion rights. Another woman, Megan Gross, said she's pro-choice, who drove to Frisco with her son to share her story. 20 years old, Megan Gross had an abortion. My family wasn't supportive back then. Today, SB 8 goes into effect. A woman should do what they want with their body. Gross. So that's what we see coming back up out of the protest.
Thank you for this brotherhood.
Saying goodbye.
Very quickly, things turned for the
Okay,
worse.
where are we getting autoplay from?
Abrupt. The when, the where.
About 4 weeks ago, he had to go onto a ventilator.
This has been a tough year and a half for all of us.
Tuesday night.
Shut up, you. All right, there's that. Let's grab one from The Blaze. Liberals lash out at progressive actress Susan Sarandon over new pro-life law in Texas. This was interesting. I had to look into this one. Where's our music? Let's get that back up here. This is from Carlos Garcia. Some on the left have lashed out at progressive actress Susan Sarandon after the Supreme Court approved a pro-life law in Texas that places new restrictions on abortion. With everything going on in Texas and soon in other states, it's a friendly reminder that Susan Sarandon can fuck all the way off. Tweeted liberal commentator Tony Posnanski. Centrist Democrat ire has been pointed at Sarandon and other far-left Democrats who refused to hold their nose to vote for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election ever since the surprise victory for former President Donald Trump. The new law in Texas bans abortion after fetal... Wait, doesn't Susan Sarandon live in California? California went overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. One more, or Susan Sarandon's vote literally meant nothing in California. Because that so overwhelmingly went Clinton in 2016. There's no way that this is Sarandon's fault. The new law in Texas bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat can be detected, which can be as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Opponents of the law asked the Supreme Court to block it in an emergency order, but were denied by Justice Samuel Alito, who presides over such requests from Texas. Many on the left took to Twitter once again to blame Sarandon for the composition of the Supreme Court as a result of the nominations by the former president. Rich women like Susan Sarandon will be just fine. The harsh edicts of the American Taliban will not touch her privileged life, tweeted liberal writer Stephanie Garulius. The blood of every woman butchered in Texas because of back alley abortions has now stained your hands. You should never be forgiven for helping give us Trump and taking away women's rights to choose, tweeted one critic. Fuck Susan Collins, fuck it, fuck Susan Sarandon, they're both the same non-voters, or let's try something different Trump voters, fuck them all, it goes back to 2016, tweeted screenwriter Randy Mayim Singer. Why don't you tell us how you really feel? Hey, hats off to Susan Sarandon for helping both to get us into Afghanistan and out of Roe vs. Wade, joked another liberal critic. Reminder, Susan Sarandon wanted all of this to be done to women's rights, all of it, tweeted writer Maggie Nuss. Others defended Sarandon and called for Democrats to fight against deep structural oppression instead. So, Apparently this is Susan Sarandon's fault. How that works, I really don't. I'm trying. I am trying to wrap my head around this, but I don't know how this works. Anybody wants to help? Anybody wants to help? All right. Actually, I'm going to move this over here. We're going to do this one first. So, on top of all that, with the Susan Sarandon thing, there are other people who are going after Bernie Sanders. Like Trinity's VP of Hakeem Jeffries' fan club. I'm old enough to remember when Bernie Sanders said Planned Parenthood and NARAL were the establishment he was fighting against. Now we're losing Roe versus Wade. And then she brought receipts on this too, and of course it's from the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness because they can only read two publications. The New York Times, a former newspaper, and the Washington Post, where democracy goes to die in darkness. Democrat presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders is taking flack for a television appearance on Tuesday night in which he said that progressive groups like Planned Parenthood, NARAL, and the Human Rights Campaign are part of the political establishment. Well, they are. I can't believe the left is turned on Bernie Sanders at this point. Not only that, Bernie Sanders endorsed anti-choice candidates and told a woman to just get over it, he is a pile of fetid trash. No, there's no divide between the progressives and the regular Democrats. Not at all. Alright. And another one, on the same vein as Bernie Sanders, Aria Blooms, who of course has a rainbow flag in her profile, says, I can't believe that the party that almost collapsed twice to keep Bernie Sanders and progressives from office for the last 5 years has no plans to for Republicans' fascist takeover of our rights. I mean, with all that fire and brimstone, you'd think they'd have something in the tank, but nope. So yes, now this is Bernie Sanders' fault as well. And I just, once again, I talked about this yesterday, but I just stopped eating carbs yesterday, so I can't even enjoy the fucking popcorn while I watch this. Alright, let's grab this one here. From USA Today, some Texas residents are stockpiling contraceptives and pregnancy tests after abortion ban. This is from Gabriela Miranda. On Wednesday, a Texas law banning abortion after about 6 weeks of pregnancy went into effect, and some residents started stockpiling contraceptives immediately. I think you should have done that before you started having sex and possibly getting pregnant. You know, that's just the way that I see the order of things. Kayla Montoya Frazier founded Buckle Bunnies Fund. Jesus fucking Christ. Of course it's Buckle Bunnies Fund. In April of 2020, just after Texas Governor Greg Abbott's temporary abortion ban, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Montoya Frazier's organization focuses on funding abortion clinics and providing funds and transportation to those seeking abortions, probably because they went off and fucked some rodeo guy without protection, and now have a baby that the rodeo guy denies. Because, of course, it's the Buckle Bunnies Fund.
My body is my own.
Dressing like a Handmaid's Tale.
And of course an autoplay started in as soon as I took my headphones off. Why wouldn't it?
Of our bodies wanted their voices heard in front of City
That's
Hall
just the icing on the cake for all that.
restrictions on abortions take effect in Texas.
If any of you have watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the book, that's unfortunately where we're living today in Texas. We don't have safe, affordable, accessible...
Shut up, you. You see what you people are doing to me? The Buckle Bunnies Fund, really? You can't make this much more on the nose, you fuckers. Now Montoya Frazier and other volunteers are collecting contraceptives, pregnancy tests, and Plan B pills for residents taking extra precautions. Plan B contains the hormone levonorgestrel, which can prevent ovulation, block fertilization, or keep a fertilized egg from implanting in the uterus. As a sex worker, Montoya Frazier often stockpiles contraceptives and HIV test kits for fellow sex workers seeking extra protection. Her work then evolved into helping others obtain abortions, a process she herself has gone through. Kat Smith, a volunteer for Buckle Bunnies Fund, also created their own stockpile of contraceptives and pregnancy tests right after the ban took effect. Smith offered the supplies to anyone in need and has received dozens of requests on Twitter. Smith said dozens of people are worried that they won't detect their pregnancy at just 6 weeks and are resorting to weekly tests and extra contraception as a result. Dude, if doing it is giving you that much stress, stop fucking doing it. I'm going to back up just a little bit and give you a little glimpse into my life and my personal life. I don't do this often because I kind of try to keep the personal and professional separate, but I'm going to give you a little glimpse into my personal life for just a second. I have spent the majority of my adult life jumping in and out of relationships where after either the first or the second date, I fall into bed with a girl. Then, for reasons I'm not going to explain, she thinks that I am the absolute one, and right then and there needs to try and lock it down, get it into marriage. And then, after 2 years, she decides to fucking leave. I've been spending pretty much the majority of my 20s in relationships like that, which means that fucking has caused me stress. You know what I did? After this last time through, I stopped fucking. I'm done. I'm not doing it no more. Probably not going to wait till I get married, but I mean, hopefully we'll be going down the road for that by the time I decide to go and do that again. Because it was causing me that much stress. If it's causing you that much stress to fuck, then don't fuck. It's plain and simple. At 6 weeks, most won't know they're pregnant, so now many are asking where they can get free tests and Plan B, and more, because if you're pregnant after 6 weeks in Texas, you're given no option, Smith told USA Today. The Texas abortion law bans abortions at around 6 weeks, but also allows private citizens to sue those abetting in abortions. Under the law, private citizens can sue abortion providers and anyone involved in assisting someone in obtaining an abortion. Anyone who is successful in suing is entitled to $10,000 according to the law. Amber Latoya, a Houston resident, said that she took Montoya Frazier's offer for free Plan B and contraceptives. Most Plan B packages range from $30 to $50, and birth control methods are at the most 99.9% effective. Latoya is scared her birth control will fail, and she'll realize she's pregnant after 6 weeks and be forced to carry a child she's not ready for. No, I can't say it a 10th fucking time. Alright, so anyway, that's the abortion thing that's going on in Texas, and that's the next thing we need to go and freak out about because, and as I said at the top of the show, it's very ironic that now our entire news cycle has turned to abortion in order to cover up for a failed withdrawal. Let's read from The Blaze, starting off with Ocasio-Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez defends Biden on disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. War is addictive, puppy. From Carlos Garcia. Do we have video? Please tell me we have video. Not that video. Because I don't want to watch a 25-minute growing back fucking YouTube video. Nope, no video, just tweets. Democratic Rep. The Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, D-Twitch, defended President Biden on the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan by accusing his critics of profiting from war. The Democratic Socialist called the withdrawal decision courageous in a tweet on Wednesday. In case you're wondering why people are going on TV relentlessly attacking Biden for his courageous decision to leave Afghanistan when no other president would. No, let me finish the statement first. Here's one glimpse as to why, she tweeted with a video of herself grilling a military contractor in 2019. Oh, we do have video. Ha ha! Let's listen to this moron. Give me sound, you fucker. AOC called out this military contractor for wasting our money.
TransDigm sold a part called a non-vehicular clutch disc. You have to excuse how small the image is here, but it's up there on that screen. But it would, if I blew it up much larger, it wouldn't even be to scale, because this disc is only about 3 inches anyway.
Okay, hold on a sec.
This disc is only about 3 inches anyway.
Military contractor TransDigm charged taxpayers $1,443 for a tiny disc that cost $32 to make. That's the magic of no-bid contracts. That's the magic of contracts that go out to buddies of your progressive friends who don't have to worry about competing with anybody else in the market. That's a different problem entirely, Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch. Taxpayers paid for 149 discs at the inflated price. TransDigm earned 4,436% in profit from the Pentagon's.
Can cost $32. Imagine paying over $1,000 for that. But the good news here is that what I found is that the cost of about 149 of these clutch discs will cost, at cost, is about $4,768, except TransDigm charged the public $215,007. That is...
Yeah, this is not the point that you probably want to make, Honorable and Venerable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez D-Twitch. That's probably not the point that you want to make. And in fact, I would probably avoid this at all costs, because you're going to implicate a lot of people who have the power to make your life hell in the house, whose buddies are getting these no-bid contracts. Anyway. War is addictive for the few who reap the profits, while the rest of us foot the bill, she added. In a previous tweet, Ocasio-Cortez referred to the crisis in Afghanistan, but she put the blame squarely on the United States and did not mention Biden's involvement or culpability in the disaster. We have a moral obligation to the Afghan people. The U.S. role in the crisis is indisputable, she tweeted. We must waste no time and expense in helping refugees safely and swiftly leave Afghanistan, puppy. We must immediately welcome them to the U.S. and provide real-life support as they rebuild their lives. Okay, puppy? Biden angrily defended himself in an address to the nation on Tuesday, one day after the evacuation mission ended in Afghanistan and stranded between 100 and 200 Americans. Okay, let's talk about this for just a second here, because in case your people are wondering why people are going on TV relentlessly attacking Biden for his courageous decision to leave Afghanistan. That wasn't his decision, first off. That was put in place by his predecessor, and by the way, had we not had the Afghanistan withdrawal scheduled for May 1st, we would still be there. There was no way in hell. I have voted for every military action that's come across my desk as a senator, would have gotten us back out of there. There is no way in fucking hell that would have happened. And the decision to leave Afghanistan when no other president would, here's a glimpse as to why. The predecessor had a schedule to do so. It's not about courage, it's about who was making the big fucking bucks off of this. Because of your defense contractor friends. And yes, your messiah, Barack Hussein Obama, was also in that list of people. You dumb fucking twat. But yes, now she's going to go out and defend the person who's got the most power in her party. Because hopefully that will cement her a role in leadership somewhere down when she goes to run against Charles U. Schumer in the Senate. Let's keep going. Exclusive: before Afghan collapse, Biden pressed Ghani to change perception. This is from Aram Rostan and Nandita Bose. In the last call between U.S. President Joe Biden and his Afghanistan counterpart, Before the Taliban seized control of the country, leaders discussed military aid, political strategy, and messaging tactics. But neither Biden nor Ashraf Ghani appeared aware of or prepared for the immediate dangers of the entire country falling to insurgents, a transcript reviewed by Reuters show. Come on, scroll back up. The men spoke for roughly 14 minutes. On July 23rd, on August 15th, Ghani fled the presidential palace, and the Taliban entered Kabul. Since then, tens of thousands of desperate Afghans have fled, and 13 U.S. troops and scores of Afghan citizens were killed in a suicide bombing at the Kabul airport during the frenetic U.S. military evacuation. Reuters reviewed a transcript of the presidential phone call and has listened to the audio to authenticate the conversation. The materials were provided on condition of anonymity by a source who was not authorized to distribute it. Oh, tell me more. Tell me more, huh? Tell me more about the fact that, yes, anonymous source, huh? You don't know who it is? You can't tell me who it is? Yeah, oh, yes, I totally believe you. In the call, Biden offered aid if Ghani could publicly project he had a plan to control the spiraling situation in Afghanistan. We will continue to provide close air support if we know what the plan is, Biden said. Days before the call, the U.S. carried out airstrikes to support Afghan security forces, a move the Taliban said was in violation of the Doha peace agreement. Yes. Yes, it was. The U.S. president also advised Ghani to get buy-in from powerful Afghans for a military strategy going forward, and then put a warrior in charge of the effort, a reference to Defense Minister General Bismillah Khan Mohammadi. All right. With that, let's look at this for a second. Now, I'm going to say I would not have a hard time calling bullshit on whether or not this happened, because this is one of those famous anonymous sources that we can't verify, we can't put out there. We can't talk about who this person is, but totally trust us. It wasn't somebody in our newsroom looking to go sell more subscriptions. But if true, and this is a strong if true, or if we hear the phone call or something like that, which that's never going to fucking happen anyway. If we hear the phone call, this is impeachable stuff. This is legitimately what they claim they were trying to impeach President Trump over. I don't have a lot of patience for people. Now, that wasn't actually what they were trying to impeach. What they claimed they were trying to impeach Donald Trump over in the first time through. But regardless, I mean, if this is true, then we need to look into this further. But I don't know if this is true. And I'm going to be completely honest when I say that. Anonymous sources, nobody can verify. All right, from the Daily Wire. Psaki refuses to address Biden, allegedly pressuring Afghan president to make dubious claims about fight versus Taliban. From Ryan Saavedra. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki refused during Wednesday's press briefing to address an explosive report from Reuters this week that said that Democrat President Biden pressured Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani during a July phone call to make false claims about the nation's fight against the Taliban. Now, this actually makes it a little bit more believable. Honestly, because they're trying to pussyfoot and sidestep around it. Let's listen to what the red-haired bobblehead had to say.
One on Afghanistan, there's some reporting that we'd like to confirm regarding a call in July, between President Biden and former Afghanistan President Ghani. One, that both leaders appeared completely unaware that the Taliban would take over, and secondly, that they discussed plans to project that Afghan forces were still in control. Is that accurate? Can you tell us a little bit more about that call?
Well, I'm not going to get into private diplomatic conversations or leaked transcripts of phone calls. But what I can reiterate for you is that we have stated many times that no one anticipated, the vast majority, I should say, there may have been individuals and agencies, so I don't want to eliminate that option, but our national security team and no one in Congress Or I would say most people out in the public anticipated that the Taliban would be able to take over the country as quickly as they did, or that the Afghan National Security Forces would fold as quickly as they did. So even the content of the reporting is consistent with what we've said many times publicly. I'll also note something that the president said in his press conference around the same time of this reported phone call. The Afghan government and leadership has to come together. They clearly have the capacity to sustain the government in place. The question is, will they generate the kind of cohesion to do it? And what the president conveyed publicly and certainly privately as well, repeatedly to Afghan leaders, as did our national security officials, is that it's important that the leaders in Afghanistan do exactly that, lead. And
how scripted is this, by the way? I mean, this is like, okay, yeah, this is what they told me to say, and they told me to say that I can't talk about diplomatic phone calls, and please don't ask me any more questions, and this is the other guy's fault, and blah this and blah that. Was the president in any way pushing a false narrative in that call with the Afghan president? A second reporter asked Saki during the latest press conference. Let's listen again.
I just want to put a pin in that report. Was the president in any way pushing a false narrative in that call with the Afghan president?
I think it's pretty clear. Again, I'm not going to go into details of a private conversation, but what we saw over the course of the last few months is a collapse in leadership. And that was happening even before Ghani left the country. What the president has conveyed repeatedly, privately, and publicly is you need to stand up and lead your country. And that's something he said at a press conference in July in public forum as well.
I just want to put a pin in.
Oh, we're getting towered. We're getting the tower gang happen in the live chat. I see it. Yeah, this is. Oh, I'm not gonna go into the private diplomatic call. Fuck off. So yeah, they're walking around. I can believe that this happened as hard as they're trying to pussyfoot around it, but in order to come out and say that yes, this absolutely happened, let's go through the articles of impeachment over it, I would need to see a little bit more proof off of that. Let's go from the Hill. McConnell, Biden is not going to be removed from office. From Jordan Carney. You guys know what's coming here. Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell on Wednesday shot down calls. Where's my music? Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell on Wednesday shot down calls from within his own party to try to impeach President Biden, pointing to next year's midterm election as a potential check on the administration. Well, look, the president's not going to be removed from office. There's a Democratic House, a narrowly Democratic Senate. That's not going to happen, McConnell said at an event in Kentucky. Asked if Biden's handling of the drawdown in Afghanistan merits impeachment and if he would support it. Or is it going to be an impeachment? He added. McConnell's comments come as some Republicans in the House and Senate call for Biden's impeachment or for him to resign or be voluntarily removed from office over the botched Afghanistan exit. Senator Lindsey Graham said last week, that he thought Biden should be impeached. Senator Rick Scott, who chairs the Senate GOP campaign arm, questioned if it was the time to invoke the 25th Amendment, which allows the majority of the cabinet or a body appointed by Congress to remove the president. Josh Hawley and Marsha Blackburn both called for Biden to resign, and the House conservatives, including some of former President Trump's biggest allies, have called for Biden to be impeached. McConnell's comments aren't the first time he's pushed back on the impeachment calls. Asked late last month if he agreed with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a plant, who filed 3 impeachment articles that Biden should be impeached, McConnell told a Kentucky TV station, "No." House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has also stopped short of embracing impeachment calls, while predicting that a GOP-controlled House would probe Biden's Afghan exit and that there would be a day of reckoning. Which is probably why they tried to push to say that, oh, look, McCarthy's brother-in-law that isn't even related to him but is banging his sister. He profited off trying to pretend he was Native American. I guarantee you that's why that call came yesterday. Or the day before. after Democrats twice impeached Trump, first in 2020 for abuse of power, for doing exactly, or at least that's what they told you, for feigning interest in the fact that President Trump was accused of doing what President Biden allegedly just did, according to the Reuters article. And again, for inciting a selfie fest after a group of his supporters were invited into the Capitol. GOP strategists have predicted that Biden is likely to face impeachment calls if Republicans take back the House next year. Right, but nothing's going to happen. You know why? It's very easy to understand why nothing's going to happen, because he's going to die in that office, and I guarantee you that McConnell also had his hand in the fucking Hunter Biden cookie jar. If there's a cookie jar and there are powerful elites who had their hands in it over the Hunter Biden thing, McConnell had his fucking hand in it too. I mean, think of all the coke you can buy if you've got your hand in that cookie jar. Hell, he could probably get it right from Hunter. That's all a floor show. Let's keep going. Do some polling news for you guys, starting with just the news. Rasmussen poll, 52% of voters say Biden should resign, 60% favor impeachment over Afghanistan. So we're going to fly through this because this is just a lot of numbers. According to just the news from Natalie Mittelstadt, a poll by Rasmussen reports that 52% of Americans believe President Biden should resign following his handling of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, with 60% saying he should be impeached. According to the poll, 75% of Republicans, 48% of independents, and 32% of Democrats think Biden should resign. Those who disagree number 39%, with 9% not sure. Wasn't that the dude from Idiocracy? Look, man, I'm not sure. Sure, comma, not. I've not seen that whole movie, but I've seen that part. Only 38% of voters think Vice President Harris is qualified to be president. 25% say she's very qualified. Yeah, I can see her qualification all over Willie Brown's... well, we won't go into that. In spite of the fact that it's probably the least offensive thing I could say on this program. Let's see. The poll was conducted August 30 to 31st of 1,000 likely American voters. Josh Solomon tweeted about this tweet. Rasmussen poll, 52% of voters say Biden should resign, 60% favor impeachment over Afghanistan, just the news. To which Joshua Holland, who is a blue check and I have no fucking idea why, migrant caravan coordinator, Antifa critical race theorist, and Sharia lawyer, host of We've Got Issues. Okay, still don't know who this person is or why, but says 79% of idiots take Rasmussen polls seriously. Well, I thought about that, and I decided we're going to go look into a few other ones here. So this one is from Civics, and that's Civics with a Q, watching the approval-disapproval rating of Biden as it goes. And, I mean, there's the American Rescue Plan sign. For those of you listening back on the audio, I apologize for that. But at the American Rescue Plan sign, this was back in March, you know, we see just about an even approval-disapproval. And then as it goes on, the disapproval goes up, the approval goes down further and further. I don't know if this is an aggregate or a number of different surveys here, but goes down to where Taliban captures Kabul and brings us to 50% disapprove, 42% approve. We look at some of the subgroups, and I mean, you see a lot of red in the disapprove too. Postgraduates do approve slightly more than disapprove. All ages are in the disapprove category mostly. Democrats 85% approve, 6% disapprove. So this does look like this is weighted much more to Republicans, looking at the numbers here. More men disapprove than women. More white men, obviously. So they're going to play the demographics card. But then, I mean, in the states, you look down here by state, you see a lot of red, disapprove. And what is it? California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey. I'm surprised by New Hampshire, actually, but New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington. So New England and West Coast strongholds of liberality. And that's coming from the civics polls, which I don't know if this is an aggregate or just single polls as they go. But also moving on, looking at RCP. We've noticed you're blocking ads. Piss off. President Biden job approval. This is the latest slew, and this is aggregated, so this isn't just going on Rasmussen or a Hill Harris X or something. Which really, honestly, the Reuters and the Hill Harris X are going to be the one that are holding him back up, because Reuters is 49 to 46 approve to disapprove, and Hill Harris X is 49 to 43 approve to disapprove. But your aggregate right now across everything else, including the Economist YouGov, which is, well, that's still in Biden's favor. Politico, which is usually in Biden's favor as well. Our aggregate right now, though, is 45.8% approve and 49.2% disapprove. And that is with Politico, Economist, Reuters, and The Hill. All heavily weighted to Democrats, holding him up. And even there, that's not believable polling numbers, but that's as close as you can get because it's an aggregate across several different outlets. All right, let's grab one here from NPR. Speaking more about the Biden admin, millions will lose unemployment benefits. That doesn't mean they'll return to work. Well, good luck. But of course, because this is NPR, we are National Progressive Radio, which means first you can donate to us, National Progressive Radio, with a big red donate button, because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. And then you can give all the rest of the money you have away in order to support the people that we tell you to support, because we are National Progressive Radio, spreading our communist ideals across the country. Let the government take your money and give it away to other people, because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. Let's see what Scott Horsley has to say. Of course, that's going to be the face of it. Why wouldn't it be? Jobs such as Marianne LeBlanc staging in-person corporate events have been slow to return as the pandemic wears on, especially in Nevada, which has the nation's highest unemployment rate. LeBlanc has found work for a few days here and there, but nothing steady. She worries that the latest surge of coronavirus with the Delta variant will put even that limited comeback on hold. I was doing a project 3 weeks ago, and that was the week when all the mask mandates went back into play. LeBlanc recalls. We all looked at each other like, oh God, is this going to happen again? Just when you think you might see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's gone again. A bigger worry for her is that emergency unemployment benefits run out nationwide in less than a week. That ends the safety net program that millions of Americans have been relying on during the pandemic. At last count, more than 12 million Americans were getting some form of unemployment assistance. Most will be cut off entirely next week. The rest will see their benefits reduced. Those extra federal benefits have become a lightning rod. Many businesses and politicians complain the money is encouraging people to stay home rather than return to work, leaving employers with a shortage of workers. But research shows that most people who lose the benefits don't find jobs right away. Really? I mean, I look around Janesville all the time. Hell, even I look around Redacted here, where I live. And I see signs everywhere. They're not going to have a hard time finding people. I can tell you that right off the bat. They're not going to have a hard time finding jobs. It might not be the job that they want right away. But when it comes down to putting food on the table and keeping the roof over their heads, because the eviction moratorium is over too, yeah, they'll probably take whatever they can get for a little while. About 24 states ended the federal jobless aid earlier this summer in hopes that it would drive many more people back to work, but despite a record number of job openings, it didn't. Unemployed people in states that cut benefits early were only slightly more likely to find jobs than those in states that kept paying. And yet you're still sitting over here touting the success of the Biden admin and the fact that your unemployment is ticking down. And interestingly enough, the downtrend in unemployment started ticking down when these states started cutting off the unemployment benefits. But don't worry, correlation doesn't equal causation. There wasn't a huge difference at the rate in which they returned to work, said economist Michael Stepner of the University of Toronto, who was part of a team that conducted the research. There was a huge difference in the amount of benefits these workers received and the amount of money they spent in their local economy. That pattern is likely to be repeated across the country when millions of people lose their benefits next week. Taking away the benefits is not going to send them back to work, Stepner said. It's really going to increase poverty and reduce people's spending. Well, we'll see. Because I got a feeling that in 8 days, you're going to start seeing a lot of the now hiring signs come down. Oh, this one's right off here. From local. Let's grab one that's local here. Shannon Husey's household in West Bend will lose about $2,800 in monthly aid. It's hard when you're raising a family, Hussey said. You don't have any idea what the next few months are going to look like. Hussey and her husband have benefited from several emergency unemployment programs the federal government launched during the pandemic. One program extends jobless benefits to gig workers and the self-employed, which helped replace some of Hussey's lost income as a motivational speaker. Another boosts traditional unemployment benefits by $300 a week, which was crucial when her husband was temporarily furloughed from his job as a master welder. Dude. That dude could be making bank right now. I know 12 places that are hiring for a master welder. I can think of 12 right off the top of my head that are hiring for that particular job. And I mean, it's not like I'm in West Bend either. I mean, that's a good hour and a half away from here. But if it's here, or down in Janesville, I should say, then it's probably the same thing in West Bend, which is also a very, very industrial city. A third program extends aid to people who are out of work for more than 6 months. All 3 programs expire on Monday. Hussey and her husband have both taken some temporary jobs, but don't feel like they have much control. Dude, if you're a master welder, you're going back to work tomorrow. If you're a master welder and you're not working, that's your own choice. That is your choice right now. I'm telling you. And I'm not telling you this because I think you're lazy or I think you're a bad person. I'm telling you because of the signs that I see literally everywhere. So that's what we see coming back up out of that. Let's grab one from the Daily Beast, because they, on a rare occasion, have gone after a Democrat. Sherry Beasley, a leading Democratic candidate for Senate, told an audience that the filibuster has in many ways benefited her state and her party. From Sam Brody, congressional reporter. As their legislative wish list languishes in a deadlocked Senate, many Democrats are more anxious than ever to jettison the filibuster, and they're hoping the 2022 midterm elections will bring the Senate more supporters of changing that long-standing rule. But a Democrat frontrunner in one of the most competitive states on the 2022 map, Sherry Beasley of North Carolina, is not only uncommitted about ending the state's 60-vote threshold for passing bills, she has declared on the campaign trail that the filibuster has been a good thing in the past. She's going to get this. During a video call with supporters in August, Beasley was asked about her position on the filibuster. According to a recording of events obtained by the Daily Beast, she said she had thought deeply about it, but did not offer a position one way or the other. She's going to get disappeared. She's going to get disappeared. But Beasley did offer an unusual argument to see from a Democrat candidate about the filibuster in 2021. The reality is, she said, it has in many ways benefited Democrats and people across North Carolina. Yeah, no, you're not supposed to remember that. You're not supposed to remember all the times that Barack Obama and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have used the filibuster. It's only right now that Mitch McConnell is using it that we're supposed to pay attention to. You are literally not supposed to pay attention to anything else about this. Just forget about the fact that anybody else ever used the filibuster. Right now, it's the problem. History. You have to rewrite history right now. So she's going to get disappeared. Let's keep going from CNN. Ukrainian president accomplishes years-long quest for a White House visit with Biden meeting. Honk honk, honk honk. From Megan Vasquez and Kevin Liptak. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with President Biden in Washington on Wednesday, the culmination of a years-long struggle to get a White House visit locked up that at one point saw him at the center of U.S. politics. The much-anticipated gathering could have high-stakes implications for Zelensky, who has vied for American support since he took over in 2019. His ascension to office led to a congratulatory call from then-President Trump, who pushed Zelensky to investigate Biden and his son Hunter. The call was at the heart of Trump's first impeachment of the House before the Senate acquitted the then-president, finding him not guilty of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, because he was about to shine a light on the fact that Hong Kong is the Hong Kong president of the Hong Kong United States. The White House meeting, some 2 years after both Zelensky and Biden were ensnared in that historic first impeachment, marked an opportunity for the Eastern European leader to set a new tone with the administration in person. So, please, Mr. Biden, give us aid. We give your son his job back. Give us aid, please. Okay? And we will not investigate. This is going to go over fucking well. So, we will catch up on that after the meeting happens, but I just wanted to make you guys aware that this was happening. From The Verge, this came to my attention via Harvey McLeod, who I believe is going to be co-hosting the Red Net Show coming up this coming Monday. After weeks of hate raids, Twitch streamers are taking a day off in protest. From Ash Parrish. On Wednesday, September 1st, a number of channels on Twitch will go dark as streamers participate in a hashtag Day Off Twitch, a walkout designed to bring attention to the ongoing hate and harassment that's plagued the platform for the last several weeks. I streamed. All I did, I looked at this and I said, okay, well, that's more bandwidth for me. Come on in and join Contemporary, even though I stream much, much earlier than everybody else. I streamed. I did. We watched Contemporary yesterday. And by the way, I also welcome the hate raids too. Come on in. Come on in and try and spew your hatred and your bullshit, as you do often here. I have a great group of viewers who are watching the program right now. The best audience in morning talk radio, by the way, who will handle you as they see fit. Many of them have moderator wrenches for that very reason. Created by Twitch streamers Shiny Pen, Lucia Everblack, and Wreck-It Raven, the walkout aims to bring greater awareness to the problems creators are suffering on Twitch. The Verge spoke with these organizers, streamers, and others to talk about hashtag A Day Off Twitch, how they're coping with the precipitous rise in hate raids, and what they hope the platform will do to protect users in the future. A Day Off Twitch was born out of the hashtag Twitch Do Better movement, a hashtag created by streamers affected by hate raids that have exploded across Twitch. In recent weeks, though the action of bombing a streamer's chat with racist, sexist, transphobic, and generally abusive messages is not new, the phenomenon has seen a dramatic increase thanks to users employing bots to overwhelm chats with hundreds of automatically generated messages, which is against Twitch's TOS, by the way. In response to what they thought the Twitch's slow response to the abuse, streamer Wreck-It Raven created the hashtag TwitchDoBetter hashtag to urge the Amazon-owned streaming platform to deploy better tools to stem the tide of harassment. Twitch has promised that fixes are forthcoming, but in the meantime, streamers are left to contend against the hate raids with community-developed tools and resources. Shiny Pen, a Filipino trans streamer, thought more should be done in addition to talking about the problems, so he decided to organize a walkout. A Day Off Twitch is largely about coming together in solidarity. I don't have solidarity with you people. You people, Shiny Pen, Filipino trans streamer, if you ever found Contemporary in the morning, you would be writing letters to go and get my show thrown off the air. So no, I don't stand in fucking solidarity with you. Fuck you. I have no solidarity with you. Your life's goal, if you ever found this channel, would be to have this channel taken off the air. So no, you can go and fuck yourself. Wreck-It Raven echoed Shiny's statements that the walkout is more about solidarity among marginalized streamers than a means to impact Twitch's bottom line. I think it's important to band together for the good of everyone who's been affected and to show that we're not going to back down, she says. So when they go off, Wreck-It Raven and Shiny, when they go offline, all of your viewers have the opportunity to come and watch my show. In fact, I welcome them. If they think that they want to see what somebody else has to say about this, welcome. We will welcome you with open arms. And as long as you don't dox anybody, you can stay here as long as you want. If you want to have a debate with somebody else in the live chat, unfortunately for Contemporary, I don't do a lot of the live chat. So I will not be debating with you directly. But if you want to have a debate with the people in the live chat, you are welcome. I'm sure that they would love to engage with you. And they're very smart and kind people. But no, I don't stand in solidarity with you. In fact, I hope you lose audience for this little stunt. Because the rest of us have to hustle day in and day out in order to hold the streamer and the audience that we have. And you get to get promoted to the top because Amazon thinks that your marginalized community needs to have extra attention on the front page. And don't think that I don't recognize what's happening on the front page either, by the way. Who's coming to the top and who isn't. So no. You can go pull your little fucking stunt. Open up some more bandwidth for me. That's fine. I'll be here reading the news every weekday morning at just slightly after 7. And we'll go from there. All right, let's talk about this nutty fucking cunt. Costa Mesa teacher accused of mocking U.S. flag removed from classroom. From CBS LA staff. This is from CBS 2, KCAL 9. An Orange County teacher caused an uproar in the community over comments she made on social media about the American flag. People have been planting flags in front of the Back Bay High School after an unnamed female teacher, no, she got named, posted a video to TikTok saying that she took down the American flag from her classroom because it made her uncomfortable. There is no reason for any teacher at any point, especially with the way things are in Afghanistan, to have this happen in any circumstance, said Mike McGuire, a former educator and veteran. CBS LA reached out to the teacher for comment, but she did not respond to our request. Officials said the teacher has been removed from the classroom, the Newport Mesa Unified School District said in a statement. And it looks like they're going to give us... No, they're not going to give us the full video because this is going to be the CBS reporting. But you remember this one, the giggly one. I lost my flag. Hey, you can pledge allegiance to the pride flag. And I do remember where Kristen Boymom over on Twitter said, fuck this teacher. And I said, well, if you think it'll help, I'll give her a few inches of patriarchy. I don't think it'll help, but if you think it'll help, I volunteer as a tribute. But there's another Libs of TikTok moment that I thought that it would be fun for us to look at here. I have actually not previewed this video. It's been on the stack for 2 days. We've missed it for 2 days because of volume of news. I have an idea of what this video says, but I've never listened to it. So you're going to hear my reaction for the first time. But yes, this is coming into this knowing that I know a general idea of what this is. Let's listen. The tweet says heterosexual relationships are inherently unequal because women are dating their oppressors.
This is probably going to piss off a lot of people. But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor. Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist. Because a self-aware man knows that he has it brainwashed into him. And any time that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor.
What?
Almost all women have sexual trauma and emotional abuse trauma, literally just from society. And she's taking a risk in being with you and making a commitment to help you undo your brainwashing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't date the opposite gender, but a lack of awareness can cause problems.
What? Okay. I realize it's anecdotal, and I do realize that they're... no. What? I'm sorry. What? Lips of TikTok. Now, there are unhealthy relationships out there, and there are men who believe that it is the woman's place to just be shoved into the kitchen as a prop in the house. I know some of them. But when you actually look at what a good and healthy relationship is supposed to be, it's not about the oppression. There are two things that come into a household that are complementary to each other. And I look at situations like my grandparents. That's actually a good one right there. It happened on both sides of my family, actually. Both my sets of grandparents were the same way. Where in the situation, my grandparents, my grandmothers, both of them, stayed home and raised the kids. My dad had 5 brothers and sisters, and my mom has 3 brothers and sisters. So they were raising a big brood. And both my grandfathers would go to work at their respective jobs, which I'm not going to say what they were. But they would both go to their jobs, and they were decent jobs. They weren't great jobs, but they were decent jobs. They would go to their respective jobs, and they would come home and hand the paycheck to my grandmothers, both of them. And the wives in both these situations handled the household. They handled all the expenses. They paid all the bills. The man went out to work. They raised all the kids, which, I mean, if you met any of my dad's brothers and sisters, that was a challenge in and of itself. And yes, I'm throwing my dad in the mix on that too. I love my father, but he was right in on that same mix with them. That was a challenge in and of itself. So to go in and take care of 6, I'll use my grandma on my dad's side, for example. To come in and take care of 6 wild-eyed children, most of whom were bigger than her, by the way, and she still had full control over that household, while my grandpa went off and earned the paycheck to come in so she could go back and do that. There's not an oppressive system in an actual functioning relationship. But far be it for us to actually have a functioning relationship in this day and age. I don't even fucking know. This is... what? Alright. Let's see what we can get through today. I think we're going to have to leave a little bit behind again. But let's see what we can get through for the rest of the day here. Alright, let's keep going. From Reuters. Do some coronavirus news, I think. 2 die in Japan after shots from suspended Moderna vaccines. Japan government. This is not true. Vaccines have no ill side effects whatsoever. Susan, don't ban me. But in a video game, in a simulation, there's a possibility that somewhere in the simulation, vaccines could have a negative side effect. Let's see. I have no author given on this one. 2 people died after receiving Moderna Incorporated COVID-19 vaccine shots that were, among lots, later suspended following the discovery of contaminants, Japan's health ministry said on Saturday. Of course, this is not true. This is a simulation, and nothing bad happens with the vaccines. The men in their 30s died this month within days of receiving their second Moderna doses. The ministry said in the release each had a shot from one of the 3 manufacturing lots suspended on Thursday. The causes of death are being investigated. Japan has halted the use of 1.63 million Moderna doses shipped to 863 vaccination centers nationwide more than a week after the domestic distributor, Takeda Pharmaceutical Company, received reports of contaminants in some vials. And that's, that is a part of the concern that I have with this. Now, you're going to have this concern with any manufactured product whatsoever. But they're pumping these vaccines out so fast, of course, nothing bad is happening with them because vaccines are ineffable and they're amazing, and you don't even have to know what's in them in order to tell that they're good and amazing, and you must go and take them. But in the simulation, you're pumping these vaccines and these doses out so fucking fast that, yeah, there's bound to be a failure in the manufacturing process somewhere. All manufactured products have a failure inherent in their system. That's why we have warranty. But you can't warranty somebody's death, even though that would never happen from the vaccine, because they're completely and totally safe, and everybody should be out and taking theirs. Don't ban me, Susan, please. Alright. With that, we'll go on from that. Also inside of this one comes to us from Insider. 2 top FDA officials resigned over the Biden administration's booster shot plan, saying it insisted on the policy before the agency approved it, reports say, from Ashley Coleman. The US FDA announced the resignations of 2 top vaccine officials on Tuesday, and reports said the 2 were leaving in anger over the Biden admin's plan to roll out COVID-19 booster shots before officials had a chance to approve it. Dr. Marion Gruber, the director of the FDA's Office of Vaccine Research and Review, and her deputy, Dr. Philip Krause, planned to leave the FDA in October and November. BioCentury first reported the news on Tuesday. In a letter announcing the resignations obtained by the biotech industry publication Endpoints, Dr. Peter Marks, the director of the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, praised the pair for their work during the COVID-19 pandemic. He didn't give a reason for their departures. But sources told Endpoints and Politico that Gruber and Krause were upset with the Biden admin's booster shot plan. The admin announced last month that most people would be offered a COVID-19 booster shot about 8 months after vaccination. One former senior FDA leader told Endpoints that Gruber and Krause were leaving because they felt the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were making the vaccine decisions that should have been left to the FDA, and were upset with Marks, the leader of their division, for not insisting on the agency's oversight. But of course, because they're leaving the vaunted vaccine program, they're leaving because of this. They are most likely bigoted anti-vax Republicans who are probably massive Trump supporters. Am I doing this right, mainstream media? Have I cracked the code? Am I doing this the way that you want me to do, media gods? Alright. We'll skip for the rest of these here. So we've got 3 more that we will put on. We have 4 more we'll put on for tomorrow. We'll do these for tomorrow after before the live chat. I got 1 more that I want to touch on because I promised Remzo Martinez that I would do it this morning, and I wanted to make sure that we got to it here. From the Badger Institute, Wisconsin mayors embrace emerging local welfare plan. Milwaukee, Madison, and Wausau plan to pay certain low-income families monthly stipends with no strings attached. From Mark Lecheron. Officials in Milwaukee, Madison, and Wausau are laying the groundwork. Wausau? Really? That actually surprises me. Milwaukee and Madison I'm not surprised about, but Wausau, actually, that kind of blows my mind. Are laying the groundwork for programs that would pay a monthly stipend, no strings attached, to low-income families. Encouraged by the federal government's direct payments of $870 billion in stimulus checks to Americans, since the outbreak of the pinko fucking pox, they are among nearly 5 dozen local elected officials around the country, all of them Democrats, who have begun to experiment with adding a local welfare payment to the local social safety net. For the time being, these so-called guaranteed income pilot programs are being underwritten by private donations. Wausau Mayor Katie Rosenberg told the Badger Institute this week that her city council agreed to support the pilot only if no tax dollars were involved. That sounds a little bit more like Wausau. However, the Milwaukee Common Council sometime in September is likely to approve using $400,000 in federal tax money from the city's American Rescue Plan allocated to fund its pilot. in order to get these people hooked on it, so they beg you to have it on the city level where they can tax the shit out of you for it. The goal, as outlined by Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, is to establish permanent programs wherever the funding comes from for stipends that are unconditional with no strings attached and no work requirements. A guaranteed income is meant to supplement rather than replace the existing social safety net and can be a tool for racial and gender equity. Unlike the 3 rounds of federal economic impact payments designed to offset pandemic's efforts and the economic damage done by the government response, guaranteed income is designed to combat rising income inequality compounded by a growing racial wealth gap, particularly for women in low-paying occupations, according to the group's statement of principles page on its website. But it's not guaranteed income. You know why? Because you're only offering it to low-income people. That's not equal protection under the law. This is illegal. This is wrong. This is UBI without the U. But they're going to do it. And they're going to do it on a racial and gender line. And they're going to get sued into oblivion for doing it. Especially because it's going to involve tax dollars. I see what you did there. I don't like it, but I see it. I see what you did there. All right. So that is from the Badger Institute. That is in the Discord, by the way, if you guys want to go take a look at that and the extent of it. This is a little bit more in-depth article than, just coming off and doing a headline, but I wanted to make you guys aware that this is happening and make sure that you guys pay attention to more liberal population centers in your states that could possibly be doing the same thing. Now let's do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate and head out of here for the day. All right. Actually, and this is a rare moment where the thing that I like and the thing that I hate are both the same thing, just in a different form. So we're going to start with the thing that I like today. So, following an announcement that I heard from Netflix this week, I went back and started binging one of my favorite television programs ever. It's not my favorite anime, it's not my favorite animated series, it's not my favorite anything else. It is my favorite television program ever. And that is Cowboy Bebop. It was an amazing program. The art direction was amazing. The music was awesome. They had a big music theme throughout the entire thing. The storylines were great. And it was realistic enough that, you actually could have done a live action program of it. Nobody really had any superpowers as per, you would say, for superpowers. You would have to CG in the space scenes, but for the most part, you didn't really have to go and do a lot of other CG, which that was one of the reasons I liked it so much. As because it was open to a level of realism. The stories are great, and looking back on it, because the first time I watched it, I was 18 years old. And then I watched almost all the way through it again a few years ago, never finished it. So I went back 2 weeks ago and started watching it again. It is still amazing, and it still holds up to date, even though it came from 1998. The story centers around to start with, 2 bounty hunters, Jet Black and Spike Spiegel, who travel through the solar system, which has been made accessible due to astral gates. Seeking bounties, they have very bad luck getting bounties. I'm on session 13 now, and I think they've only had 2 bounties throughout the entire series. They've only won twice, so they're hard up, they're down on their luck to get these bounties, but there's a cohesion, there's a social aspect to it. You see a lot of their past, and you can tell that this entire story was written before they started drawing episodes, that they knew where they were going to go with these characters, because everything holds up. There's no incontinuity between the episodes. It's just an amazing show, and if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. I guess it's free streaming on Hulu, but I don't have Hulu. I bought it on Amazon. 7 years ago, I bought it on Amazon. So I have the full series on Amazon Prime. Well, not Prime because I had to buy it, but I have the full series on Amazon, and it still holds up. Throughout the series run, Spike and Jet were joined by Faye Valentine, Ein the Corgi, and Radical Edward, a female hacker who is probably 11 years old, who well, we'll talk about the Netflix adaptation coming up here in just a sec. But let's watch the trailer for what's coming up, for what Cowboy Bebop was back in 1998.
What would you do if you chose to walk away from a life of death and chaos, only to have it come back to haunt you? Bounty hunters Spike and Jet, with the help of the alluring Faye Valentine, the genius hacker Ed, and the mysterious data dog Ain, must pool their efforts to clean up space and bring order to a chaotic world.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Driven by money and a sense of justice, can the crew of the Bebop put their differences aside and work together as a team? Stylish and sexy, director Shinichiro Watanabe and music composer Yoko Kanno collaborate on what has become the premier Japanese animated series today.
All right, and that is the trailer, and I think if I go too far into listening to the epic intro music, because that's the intro music they were just playing, if I go too far into listening to that epic intro music, they will copyright pop me on YouTube if they haven't already. But if you have not seen this anime, I mean, this is not anime for weebs by any stretch of the imagination. This is anime for the common man. There's a reason this is baby's first anime in most situations where people came to anime as an adult. Because, like I said, the art direction is amazing, the music is amazing, the stories hold up, this was very well written, and I would watch this program in any style. Whether anime, live action, cop show, anything else like that. If it was the exact same script that they used for this, I would watch this in any style whatsoever. So there I said. Again, it's on Amazon Prime, or it's not on Prime, it's on Amazon. You go buy the season, I think it's like $15 for the season. In HD. You can go do that. Otherwise, apparently it's streaming on Hulu, and I didn't know that. Go check that out. Highly recommended. But the reason this came to my attention, of course, is the thing that I hate. Because, and you see the N up there, you know what's coming here. Netflix series, Cowboy Bebop. Featuring John Cho and a couple of other race swap characters off of this. Now, there are a lot of other struggles that go along with Cowboy Bebop. There are a ton of other struggles that go along with this. There are a lot of them. Because a lot of people came out, and one of the first things, when I posted the picture of this, and I said, please don't ruin it, please don't ruin it, please don't ruin it. A lot of the problems came out with, oh, well, they're race swapping for claps. Oh, good, they're going to race swap. You know, I'm actually not that concerned with the race swap. I'm not going to lie. I'm not that concerned with it. The problem that I have with this is the people that are playing it and whether or not they can hold up. Now, yes, I don't have a problem with a black Jet Black. If he can have the same authoritative focus when he needs to be and the jovial goofiness that Jet Black had in the anime, I don't care what the color of the skin of the guy that's playing him is. I don't care. As long as the character holds up. It's the same thing with the argument that's been for Faye. Because, I mean, the animated character Faye had unrealistic bobs, and oh my god, it's horrible because she doesn't have a size 2 waist. Okay, can she pull that sultry allure, use her body to affect people, well, on the stage of course, use her body to affect the world around her and get what she wants, and have that certain sense of apathy that is central to the Faye character. And this is a live-action program anyway. When's the last time you saw a live-action adaptation of an animated series where the animated characters always wear the same clothes? They generally wear whatever's stylish at the time that they're trying to do this. Calvin Klein provides a lot of clothes for them. They're never in the same... I mean, for an animated series, it makes sense because then they've got the same character model as they're continuing to draw the character is throughout the series. But in a live-action replay, people wear different clothes every day. It's not about a costume. So there have been a lot of false conversations about what is actually going to be the problem with this. My biggest problem is that I don't see John Cho as Spike Spiegel. I don't care that he's Asian, and Spike Spiegel is clearly Germanic Jewish. I don't care about that. Does he have that apathetic attitude? That snark that Spike has? Is this actor in the center, is he going to be able to pull that authoritative voice and then still be jovial when he needs to be, like Jet Black is? Is Faye going to be a big feminist icon, or is she actually going to be true to the character? A lot of apathy and snark, while still being able to use her body to get away with things. And God help us, because of where they brought Edward in this in the original series, Session 9, Jamming with Edward, they're probably not going to have Edward come in until season 2 of the Netflix adaptation. God help us. I'm afraid to death they're going to make Edward into a trans kid, because she was androgynous to begin with. I'm going to give it a chance. I am. Oh, they're coming to get me for playing a trailer on my YouTube channel. I'm going to give it a chance. I really am. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. I don't care. I'm really afraid that this is going to go the direction that I think it's going to go, and it's going to be super woke. But I hope that I get proven wrong. I really do. All right, with that, let's head out of here for the day. Change up the track. Alright, so thanks everybody for listening to my rant on Cowboy Bebop and my rant on everything else that we did today. Thanks for following along. You guys had some really insightful stuff in the chat today, which I'm pretty fucking pumped about, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm gonna have a good time going back and reading that. Otherwise, we'll be going back and heading over to see my friend Stephen Ignoramus. As soon as I'm off of here, that's where I'm going, off of D-Live, so go and check him out. The other best show on Morning Talk and Morning News Talk, so go and check that out. That's a great time always. Make sure that you do. Otherwise, I'll be back here tomorrow. And by the way, if you are just lurking, get those last-minute messages in, because you get the special thank you from the live chat every Friday, and we do read live chat as well on Friday. So go and check that out. That's going to be a great time. Make sure you get those messages in, and we will see you here tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.
5 years in hell forged me into a weapon, which I used to honor a vow I made to my